Okay, good morning, friends. It is Monday, March the 30th. This week we have a lot of things going, so make sure everybody's on the same page. So today is our last day of notes for Chapter 2. So Chapter 2 included 2.1 to 2.6, and then we also threw in 3.5, which is the only section that we will do in Chapter 3. So Chapter 2 and then 3.5. So it is the last section. And so what that means is this week is test week. And again, testing will be done over WebAssign. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, instead of giving you a paper pencil review, I'm actually going to create a review on WebAssign. And so I will do that this afternoon, and it will be posted by 5 o'clock today. And so I will post that review. It'll be open for you. There's no due date. And so it's not for a grade. Again, it's going to tell you yes or no, but it's not for a grade. So please make sure that you understand that. But I just need to get you familiar with how WebAssign works and how you've got to use the equation editor on the right-hand side. And so your review for the test will be in WebAssign. Okay, and I will post a video and I will post the information for that by 5 o'clock today. So we'll finish up notes today. We will answer any questions over the review on Wednesday. So what that entails is if you have questions, submit them to me, tell me what number, and I can go over those. Probably also what I will do is I will take each question on the quiz and I will write it out, and I will write all the steps to it, and then I will post that. And so on Wednesday evening, my goal is to host a Zoom meeting just for college algebra. So if you have any questions for the test, then you can ask those at that time. The test will be open on Friday. Once you start the test, you will have 2 hours to complete it. So it is timed, so don't just open it and look at it. It's 2 hours once you open the test. So make sure that you're ready to sit down and open it during that time. So if you have any questions, please email me. I'm not hearing much from college algebra, so I have to assume that you guys are doing okay. So we'll see. Okay, so for this section, we're going to do 2.6. And 2.6 is really the algebra of functions. So what that means is instead of looking at graphs of your functions, we're actually going to look at the operations of them. So given two functions, so given f of x and g of x, we can do all the operations. We can add, subtract, multiply, and divide. And so for addition, you're just adding the two functions together. For subtraction, you're subtracting the two functions, but the thing you have to remember is when you subtract, you're going to have to subtract the entire second function, which means you need to distribute a negative. For multiplication, you're multiplying those two together, which will include distributing, foiling, any type of multiplying of binomials. And then for division, you have your top divided by bottom. You want to factor the top and the bottom and see if anything can be simplified from there. Now, for a lot of these, you'll notice it's f plus g of x and f minus g of x. If the x is replaced with a number instead of the x, and some of these will be for sure, you want to evaluate the number, so substitute in the number and evaluate after you do the operation. So you do your operation first and then substitute in that number, so evaluating that function. Okay, so a couple of examples. So given these two functions, we want to add these two together first, so f plus g of 3. So we want to do our operation first, and we get x squared plus 3x plus 1. Then everywhere there's an x, you want to substitute in a 3. You can see that in purple. And then evaluate using order of operation. So then f minus g of negative 1. So I subtract my two functions. And again, remember the second one you're subtracting, you have to distribute that negative. Combine like terms. Once you have it simplified, x squared minus 3x plus 3, then substitute in your negative 1 and solve by order of operation. Multiplication. So with multiplication, I am multiplying these two together. So that means I'm going to FOIL these out. And then once I am done, I'm doing f times g of 2. So then I'll substitute in a 2 everywhere there's an x, and then simplify. Okay, for division, so top divided by bottom. So first thing we want to do is we want to see, will the top and the bottom factor? And in this case, they will not. So if there's nothing to if it won't factor, then there's nothing to simplify. This one is just f divided by g of x. So if there is no number, there's nothing to sub in for, and you leave it just in terms of x. In terms of x. Okay, so that's operations of functions, f plus g, f minus g, f times g, f divided by g. Okay, so the next thing we can do with functions is what's called composite functions, and this is where you substitute one function into another function. So we have f composed of g, g composed of f, and what this means is you start with the first one. So for f composed of g, we start with the first function, and everywhere there's an x, you want to substitute in your g function into that. And then the second one, g composed of f, you start with your g function, and everywhere there's an x, you're putting your f function. So examples. So find the two composite functions given these two functions. So f composed of g means we're starting with f, x plus 2, and everywhere there's an x, we're substituting in our g function. So for this x, we put in x squared minus 3x plus 4, and then the plus 2, and then combine like terms. Now, notice with these, this x can also be replaced with a number, so you can substitute a number inside of here once you're done. G composed of f means you're starting with your g function, and everywhere there's an x, you're putting in your f function. So you get x plus 2 squared minus 3 times x plus 2, and then plus 4. And then solve. And remember that x plus 2 squared means x plus 2 times x plus 2, so write it down twice and FOIL it out. Distribute your negative 3, and then combine like terms. Okay, the next one, f composed of g of x, so we're starting with f. Everywhere there's an x, we're putting our g function into that, and then simplifying. So that's our composite functions. Okay, the last thing that we can do with functions is what's called the difference quotient. And this is actually, if you're going on into higher math, going into calculus, this is actually something that's preparing you for that. And so it's called the difference quotient, and it's f of x plus h minus f of x all over h, okay, where h is not 0 or would be undefined. So what that means is you're given a function and you're asked to find the difference quotient. And so you're going to use that function twice. So the first time you're going to use it, you're going to substitute in x plus h. The second time you're going to subtract your function. And I tried to color code all of this for you so you can see. So this first one, so I want to find the difference quotient of f of x is equal to 2x plus 5. So the first time, what's in turquoise, or you put in 2 times x plus h plus 5. The second part is in purple, so minus f of x, so minus your function, and then all over h, which is in pink. So then you evaluate. So you want to distribute your 2. You also want to distribute your negative, and you'll always distribute your negative into the second part. And then what you'll notice is several things cancel out, and that's the goal. Anything that you change the sign on the back end should cancel with something up front. So you're left with 2x over h, or excuse me, 2h over h. Your h's simplify, and you're left with just 2. So again, try to look for the color coding to try to help you out there. Okay, the next one, I have negative 3x squared plus 1. So the first time in the turquoise, I'm going to put x plus h in for x. The purple, I want to subtract my function, g of x, and then all over h. So remember, x plus h squared, that actually means write it down twice and FOIL it out. So negative 3 times x plus h times x plus h. So you want to FOIL, and then you want to distribute your 3 and distribute your negative. Combine like terms if you can, simplify terms out. Some should cancel. And I'm left with negative 6xh minus 3h squared all over h. So then, since I have an h on the bottom, I want to factor an h out of both of those. So my h can go away, and I'm left with negative 6x minus 3h. Okay, and then the last one, you have 2x squared minus 3x plus 5. So again, everywhere there's an x, you're putting in x plus h. So 2 times x plus h squared minus 3 times x plus h plus 5. And then minus, in purple, you're subtracting your function. Okay, 2x squared minus 3x plus 5. And then all over h. So then you're doing the algebra. So write it down twice, FOIL it out. Distribute your 2, distribute your negative 3, distribute your negative. Simplify. You're going to end up factoring out an h. Your h's will cancel, and you're left with 4x plus 2h minus 3. There's some homework to look at, and again, remember you do have access to the ebook on WebAssign, so be sure to try some of these. So again, the last thing, I didn't point this out. So you do have a 2-point quiz, okay, excuse me, a 2.6 quiz, and that 2.6 quiz will open today at 9 a.m., Monday, open at 9 a.m., and it does have a due date. So I have several people who have missed due dates. Please make sure that you are looking at the due dates on your quizzes. They are due by that time. So, and I am not reopening those. So several people have missed those. So if I've reopened them for you, I am not doing that again. So it's up to you to take responsibility for your actions. I will post a announcement in Blackboard that will have this week's activities and kind of outline things that you should be looking for because it's test week. So if you do have any questions, reach out. I can Zoom with you, and I just had one from College Algebra that hopped on last night on Sunday evening to the Zoom, so I'm assuming everybody else is good. So if you have questions, reach out to me. If not, then we will proceed through test week.